I have this I have this one question for Christians, really. Okay, if you can set aside you got what you want with changing the definition of when life begins, but just realize there's implications with God for this. Because I asked AI, because that's why I'm passionate about it. I think that it will cause God to turn his back on us. That's why I wonder how many of these Christians are really Christians and aren't serving the science agenda. Because this is what AI had to say. Undermining God's role as the life giver. Genesis and other biblical passages emphasize that life is a divine gift uniquely imparted by God's breath or spirit. If we redefine life's beginning as purely biological event, it risks minimizing or overlooking God's ongoing personal involvement in the creation of each life. Changing the meaning of personhood. The biblical narrative associates being a living soul with receiving God's breath, not merely a biological process. By shifting this to conception, we may alter the spiritual understanding of what it means to be a person created in God's image. Spiritual alienation. If God's definition of life is set aside for a human or scientific one, it could be seen as disregarding divine wisdom and authority, potentially leading to spiritual confusion or distance from God's intended order. When society's definition of life no longer matches God's revealed pattern, it can create uncertainty about the value and sanctity of life and about what constitutes moral actions regarding birth, death, and human dignity. The biblical view that God's breath is what makes a being truly alive imbues human life with sacredness and purpose. Removing this element may contribute to a more ulterior or less reverent view of human existence. Moving away from the biblical emphasis on God's breath as the source of life may risk diminishing the spiritual significance of life, obscuring God's role as creator and leading to confusion about what it means to be truly alive in God's eyes. So that's why I get rather upset about it, because I think this is very designed, because by doing this, it now puts science in the life and technology in the creator of life, and that would be a reason for God to turn his back on us. I mean, you can argue all you want about the different passages. It's too obvious about that it's breath that becomes a living creature. I'm not trying to say you disregard the fetus, the cell. What I'm trying to say is you have now replaced. I mean, do you think the cells is the image of God? Or do you think that the cells are going to go on to become, if they do, because again, some miscarry. So, or do you think what God meant by his image is once it's born and that beautiful moment that he breathes into it, that now the Christian right and the science has taken away from that moment because now they've moved life to a fertilized egg? I just don't think God has turned his back on countries for a lot worse. I mean, a lot less, I should say, a lot less. But when the entire country, which I don't think it's all Christians, but have now decided what their will is to say it begins at conception, and they disregard his breath, that is what literally created all of it to begin with, even before man was created. I think we'll be in a lot of trouble, really, because I mean, you people can fight me all they want, okay, but it's like you're taking God out of his own creation, and you've turned it into a biological process. And instead of, I mean, this is a common sense issue too, okay? Because clearly, me sitting here talking, okay, I'm a human life that deserves human rights, okay? But when Charlie Kirk and these jackasses run around and say cells deserve human rights, can you not see there's a difference there? So that's the danger. I mean, even AI knows that it's God's breath that creates the cells, the fetus, to go on and become a living soul, a living being. Again, before that, it's on life support. It's not even breathing in the womb. It's being developed. And we've now managed, because of the Christian community, well, evangelical and Protestant and Charlie Kirk and Jack Hibbs and a whole bunch of other jackasses, to minimize the very thing that created everything, which is God's breath. So, I'm no expert. I just don't think that will end well for anyone. When you literally take the living creature, that when God blows breath into it and it becomes alive, away, you take that magical moment. I mean, yeah, that moment will still take place, but it no longer has any meaning, really, because now it's a life that doesn't, it's a life itself. A fertilized egg you've turned it into a biological process. Do people stop and think for a moment too that why did God, when you want to consider what started first, the egg or the chicken or the egg, and it was clearly with Adam, it was the chicken. Wasn't that a way for God to say that, look, this is what a life looks like? Not that it has to be as 20 years old, because they figure Adam was probably around 18, 20, but that it has to be in this form. It has to at least be in this form. I have to at least be able to blow my breath into it, because that is the only thing that sustains and gives life. Do you think taking that away and turning it strictly into a biological process will fare well for this country? If you do, then God help us.